Alright, this is the video that you'll need to watch in order to fill in page 17 in your binder on economy. Remember, this is a video, so if you need to stop the video in order to catch up on the notes, you can do so. Alright, let's get started. Economy. What is it? Economy is the way a country uses its money and resources, such as workers and land, to produce, buy, and sell goods and services. Most of the time, a country's economy depends on its development. So what is development? Development is basically how rich or poor a country is. There are a few factors that go into determining a country's economic development. Life expectancy is the first one. Life expectancy is the amount in years that a person can expect to live when they are born. The second factor is gross domestic product. Sometimes you'll hear this referred to the GDP. The gross domestic product is the total amount in dollars of products a country can produce in 1 year. That includes the production of foods and goods, services, profits from trade and overseas businesses, all money earned in a country by its workers. And what they do is they add it all together and they get the gross domestic product of the country. So you can either hear this as the total GDP or you might hear it as per capita. Per capita just means that's the amount per person. So they take the total and divide it by the population and they get their per capita GDP. The next factor is literacy rate. Literacy is the ability to read and write. So the literacy rate is a percentage of people in a country that can read and write. This will change from country to country. The next one is type of industry. Types of industry are basically areas of economic activity, ways that money is made. There are different types of industry. Agricultural is the first one. It's also referred to as primary industry. And that's where they take a natural resource from the earth, such as farming or mining or oil. The second type of industry is manufacturing. They take the product that came from the earth and they make it into something useful. So, for instance, a farmer might take the crops that he grows and send them to a factory where they will produce other products. Potato farmers send their potatoes to Frito-Lay, and Frito-Lay produces chips. In the same way, metals are sent to car manufacturers who then turn that into cars, and oil is sent to oil refineries and they turn that into gas. These are sometimes called secondary industries. The third type of industry is retail. Once the product is made, then retail is the industry that actually sells the product or service. Sometimes this is also called tertiary industry. So the food made in the food manufacturing plant would then go to the grocery store. The car would go to the car dealership, and the gas would go to the gas station. The next type of industry is wholesale. Wholesale is the sale of goods to anyone other than a standard consumer. When you go to Costco or you go to Sam's, you have to have a membership. Not just anybody can walk into those two places and buy something. The last type of industry is research. A lot of times this is called quaternary. Research industry gathers information for the other industries. Sometimes they use polls, other times they use research, sometimes they gather information and collaborate in order to give the other industries information. Classification of development. Developed countries are often referred to as industrialized or more economically developed. Developing countries sometimes are considered less developed. So what's the difference? Developing countries tend to have little or no modern technology, low life expectancy and literacy rates, more agriculture than industry. Developing countries are working to improve their economies to help people live safe, healthy, successful lives. Developed countries, on the other hand, are generally countries that have high life expectancy, high GDP, and high literacy rates. A developed country's economy is usually based on technology and industry rather than agriculture. Then the last one is underdeveloped. These are sometimes called least developed. An underdeveloped country tends to have little or no infrastructure, which means they have no buildings, no roads, no canals, things like that. And the majority of their work is agricultural. In an underdeveloped country, there are usually very low life expectancies and literacy rates and extreme poverty. Underdeveloped countries are often affected by weak governments and natural disasters. So, underdeveloped countries are often affected by weak governments and natural disasters. And that's one of the reasons why they tend to stay underdeveloped. Now that we know what helps to determine the type of economy a country has, it's time for the economic systems. Communist is the first one. A communist economy is a system where the government owns the property, sets the prices and wages, tells people what jobs they will do, and how much to produce. Sometimes this type of economy is called command economy. So in a communist economy, the government makes all of the decisions. Market economy is the next system. In a market economy, individuals make key economic decisions. They decide the price of the goods and how much of a product is produced, indirectly through the law of supply and demand. Individuals own private property and decide what jobs they will have. So in a market economy, the individuals make the decisions. Most market economies use a free enterprise system. This system has 4 characteristics: little to no control of the market by the government, doing business with anyone you want, ownership of private property, and the ability to work to make a profit. This system is also known as capitalism. The next one is traditional. This type of system, people do the same job their parents did. Many people are simple farmers who grow just enough food to feed their families, and most communities make what they need locally. The terms subsistence farming and cottage industry are often used when referring to a traditional economy. Subsistence farming is growing enough food for your family. The last one is socialism. In this system, the government and private businesses both play a role in the lives of citizens. Some businesses are controlled by the government, while others are controlled by private individuals. The government does provide health and welfare benefits. All right, that's it. You should have all the notes that you need for page 17 of your binder. If you need to, go back